So are we headed to zero?
I think we've been on that slippery slope for a second now. I pumped the brakes though and went off.
It's not looking so good, is it?
I went off.
Let's discuss what is going on in the NFT and crypto markets and be really ruthless. Let's just do it. Let's talk about this. If you're new here, welcome. We do NFT, Web3, and digital art in general talks every Wednesday and Saturday. Please like and subscribe because we ain't getting paid for this. And we ain't getting paid for NFTs either right now, are we?
No.
I wanted to do an episode like this to talk about the reality of the NFT space because I think a lot of YouTubers are very much trying to promote get rich quick schemes, and I do not want to participate in any of that hoo-ha. So we try to really talk about projects that we believe have some sort of potential.
Typically.
But the state of the market for the past week has been rather dire. Have you seen some of the Twitter posts floating around?
I don't think I've seen any of the good ones. I've just tried to stay off Twitter because I wake up every morning and I check floor prices and I'm like, not today.
Not today. Not today. It is quite depressing. That being said, I do want to also just talk about the state of the stock market and global economy in general.
Yeah.
I think people are getting laser focused on the NFT space without talking about the corresponding disaster happening in the stock market. I don't know about you, but I have a very over-leveraged technology stock portfolio, and things aren't looking good in there. So I'm going to be applying for McDonald's probably after I get off of the YouTube recording.
Probably McDonald's Dijon.
Yeah, I'm going to be like, I own 15 crypto clit butts. I can't work here at McDonald's.
Wait,
you know who I am?
You don't really own that many, do you?
No.
Okay.
Let's just talk about some projects that have some rather shady things going on. One of them that I bought into, which is one I don't think I've ever talked about with you, it's called the Shark Mob. It's one of the worst things I've ever purchased. I think so. I knew not to buy it. I was like, this looks extremely shady. But my sister woke me up at 1 a.m. panicking about these shark JPEGs because she loves sharks. And she also is a little bit of a FOMO. I don't want to use her real name. I'm sorry, Trader Doe, if you're watching this.
Yeah.
But she woke me up in a panic. It was like, oh my God, you gotta buy these sharks, you gotta buy these sharks. I was like, what are you talking about? These look so stupid. But then I ended up panic buying one because she got so hyped and I didn't know what to do. Anyway, it's not to be a total rug. Let's just be clear about what a true rug is.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also, how much did you spend?
I can't remember, but it's probably about $250, which is way too much to spend on something that.
And also, at that time, I'm assuming that the ETH prices were better in general.
They were up. That was when we were in. Did it reach 4,000? So yeah, somewhere around there.
Okay.
So when I bought that, I was like, okay, there's no team exposing themselves here. We say doxed in the space. So there was nobody doxed. And the Discord and Twitter accounts were just very scammy sounding to me. And their roadmap which just looked like copy and pasted generic roadmap.
Okay.
Anyway, they have been radio silent for months and everybody's been in the Discord like, LOL, we got rugged. But they tweeted a couple days ago and they turned comments off on the tweet, which I thought was really funny. Like, I get that rug money ran out. So they pop back in, oh, make sure you buy some shark mobs. It's the greatest NFT. I was like, what are you talking about? Anyway, these are the bad players that I'm talking about in the NFT space that have given the entire space a really bad reputation. They totally deserve this, by the way, for turning the comments off on their Twitter. So I'm going to keep on roasting. I don't give it F.
They're asking for it. If they turn their comments off, like, that's No, thank you.
You're getting it. I'd like
Yeah.
to know, can you at least just send a picture of the color of the Lambo that you guys bought? Like anything for me. So anyway, let's talk about if all projects are going to zero. What is your take? I got my take, but I want to hear yours first.
I would say a majority of them are, yes. Unless they
Yeah.
are one of the more well-known blue chip projects, I think everything is pretty much going to zero.
And how
I
would you
think
define a blue chip
that's
project?
a great question.
Hmm.
I would say a blue chip project is one in which the trade volume has been consistent. Like you're consistently seeing movement on it. Floor price stays pretty stable, will increase and decrease within a certain percent, but stays pretty stable all across the board. So you're seeing buying and selling, you're seeing a floor price that maintains, and you're continuing to see them produce on their roadmap or giving something back to the people in their community. So that's what I would call blue chip.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those are the projects that clearly aren't going to zero, but I think at most of the other projects are, because I think
Yeah.
the community is fairly small. And I also think that a lot of these projects are now starting to realize how hard it is to actually execute against the roadmaps that they've created. Because it's very easy to say one thing, but to actually back it up is a whole other ball game.
Yeah. Riffing off of what you're saying, my reason for getting into the NFT space is my long Web 2 career in real life, IRL. And this to me looks very similar to the early days of .coms and the .com boom. Now, mind you, I was a kid when that was happening. But also the same person I am right now. Like I've been a nerd for a long time, you guys. If I had the money back then, I would have been throwing it into random .coms left and right. But also it was so new at the time. Take a gamble. So you would see something like a famous one that turned out to be a rug was pets.com because it sounded so legitimate. And the team behind it was like, oh yeah, we're going to make the online store for goods or whatever. And you're like, oh, how could that fail? So a lot of people invest in that one. That would have been one back then that I would have been like, yeah, I'm going to take a chance on this, see what happens. They're probably going to get really big. This sounds legitimate. And then it turned out to be a complete rug. You could buy something like that and think you're making a good choice, and it could just turn out to be a nothing. Or you could have back then bought something like Amazon, which I remember the beginning days of Amazon. And I actually back then didn't think Amazon was going to make it. I was like, this is just some nerd platform where you can buy books. How boring. Like it just didn't excite me. And now look at Amazon. Great name, by the way.
Yeah.
Amazon trade route. So it did. Had I only known Jeff Bezos' plan to start with books and expand it, that would have changed maybe my thoughts about it. But he still wasn't like anybody knew. And
he was just a guy who had a website.
But people that invested into Amazon back then, they have done very well.
Yeah.
So that's same just a little bit. I don't know if you've seen their stock chart lately, but dang, had I only $5 back in 1997, I don't know when that was. Sounds about right. So anyway, I didn't have the opportunity or the cash to invest in any .coms back when this was happening, but I do remember the adults around me just throwing money in all sorts of stuff. And I did make some really good calls. I used to tell adults around me, I guess I should explain why I'm telling adults around me. My grandfather was a stockbroker and I hung around a lot of traders, which explains another reason that I'm sitting here on the internet DJing gambling in NFTs. So I would say, oh, this company Google is going to be really big. And like I understood why, and I understood the algorithm and how fast and superior it was to everything else and the value in it. And they thought I was a crazy kid. But that was like the thing I was most bullish on. I was like, buy as much Google as you can. And they were like, yeah, this website with a little box on it. I was like, no, it's going to be the biggest thing in the world. Yeah. So there were those things. And I look back on those times like, wow, had I just been able to put money in not only some of the things that I was wrong about, but the things that I also had hunches that would be big, what would my life look like? Like that, that's such an opportunity and a really small hyper growth of innovation, like just a rare opportunity to buy into things. And I see
Yeah.
that same thing happening right now. And I haven't had that feeling about anything in technology until I saw the NFT space and the way that blockchain is being used to innovate. So
Yeah.
do I think everything's going to zero? No, I don't. Do I think 98 to 99.9% of things are going to zero the same way .coms were? Yes, absolutely.
Mhm.
That's just
Yeah.
the reality. So I don't want to sugarcoat it for anyone. Like, a lot of things are going to fail. And
Yeah.
I know a lot of people watching this might be too young or not born yet to remember the .com stuff, but it was the exact same feeling of what is happening right now.
I think the projects that are going to stick around are those that are solving an actual problem, that they're digging into what the utility behind that project actually is. Not every NFT that's trying to build a community is going to make it. That's a majority of those are going to fail. But there are projects that are starting to leverage NFTs for things like fitness or for environmental causes. And I think that they're very early to this space and they're not going to get adoption today. But those are the types of projects that I think will be successful in the future. And again, it's because they're solving an actual problem and they're not just trying to be greedy and make money because this is a trendy thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when I look at NFT projects, what I'm looking for is a team that has the right experience. I want to be very clear about that because you can have somebody who's been in the tech industry who just does not understand blockchain and NFT and crypto space whatsoever. Like the CEO of Voyager Digital, who, if you don't know about that story, he came from E-Trade. So he has a Web 1 background. I would call E-Trade Web 1. That's from way early internet days. I don't think they ever really mastered Web 2. To me, it's very much like a Web 1 platform that didn't evolve to the highest potential it could have. Like it feels like eBay to me. Like eBay still feels like a mess.
Yeah. Yes, I agree.
I don't like it. I'm like,
Yeah, it's never an
it
eBay.
kind of got stuck in the first phase of the internet and it didn't evolve very well.
Yeah.
So just because somebody comes from a tech background and had a quote unquote success prior doesn't mean that they're essentially going to be good in the NFT, crypto, blockchain space. But if you find somebody who does have a tech background, who gets it, who is, God, it's like a hard thing to explain what to look for. Like they're not bullshitting. They're not very salesy. Oh, look at all of my prior things. And that's the reason you should trust me. They're talking the talk. They're making things. They're innovating. They're meeting their deadlines. They're involved. They have the right people around them that are probably younger than they are.
Yeah.
Because this is a new emerging technology. So like, you're not going to see a bunch of elder millennials probably and boomers in the NFT, except the cool ones. But it's going to be few and far between. You're going to see mostly like younger teams. They're going to have to take good advice from them. Or you want to find people who are just like the young, extremely smart, savvy, got the drive, understand the tech people. Those people that have that X factor, like a young Steve Jobs, like and they don't necessarily have to come from a tech background. They could just have the vision and the drive and understand and be the right connectors to bring the right people together. But also it's important they put their name on the line. Like I really look I look for people who are like, I'm putting my reputation on the line here and I'm all in. And
I think it needs to be a nice hybrid between someone who is a visionary and of that entrepreneurial mindset and someone who can actually execute as well. And sometimes you can get that in the same person. Oftentimes you can't because there will be some people who are just better at straight production and but they don't have the vision. So having that hybrid, whether it's a team, one person I think is really critical.
Absolutely. So that's one thing I look for. Like the founding team, I think is probably the most important thing to look for actually. But then I also want to talk about how this is different from the stock market, because I hear that as like the biggest criticism of the entire space is this is unregulated. These are not stocks. And I'm like, yes, but also like Bill Gates has said before that the NFT space is based on greater fool theory, which is right to a certain extent. Yeah, there's who's the biggest fool who's going to buy this JPEG and how high. Yeah, those things are absolutely happening. But also, Bill Gates doesn't really hit me as somebody who understands the collectibles and luxury and socialization aspect of what is happening here. So let's just talk for a minute about luxury market and how it works, because I don't see Bill Gates walk around in luxury stuff. He just doesn't care. But
Yeah.
if you are somebody who is into that stuff, like these brands like Hermes, Louis Vuitton, Chanel,
Mhm.
they make enormous amounts of money. I'm pretty sure Louis Vuitton has like $1 billion valuation, or like beyond that. I'll have the statistics up on screen, but obviously you can't ignore that is happening. And there is really nothing that makes a bag from Louis Vuitton different from a leather bag sewn by somebody down the street who's a really good craftsman. Like those people get hired at Louis Vuitton to sew the bags. Like you have to be real about what it is, okay? So why do these luxury brands, why do their pieces continue to appreciate in value, even in a bear market like right now? Something people aren't really talking about is that the luxury market, if you own some like a Louis Vuitton bag, it's been appreciating in value while everything else is tanking. Like explain that. Have an economist explain that. You can't. It doesn't make any sense. It is the greater fool theory thing that Bill Gates is talking about. But the reason that it's appreciating in value like that is because the public has decided so. It's really, that's it.
Safety in numbers. There's so many people who are like, this is a cool thing. Everyone's got to have it.
They want it. It has value. The public has decided it has value. And because of that, it's going to stay on a pedestal for who knows how long. It could come crashing down next week, and I'll eat my words, but it hasn't happened for decades now, you guys. And the reason behind that is the same reason a lot of NFT projects will absolutely succeed. And that is that people want to own it. They want to have that validation on the blockchain that they are an owner of this digital asset, and whatever is tied utility wise to that asset, whatever access it gets you, whether it's like invitations to in real life events where you are networking with a certain crowd of people, exclusive, whatever drops of what, like there will be so many ways that NFTs are used as a pass to get you access to things in life, that the value of that you could never rationalize. It will come from the woo-woo feelings of the public. That's really what is happening. So that was a real ramble. Do you have any other thoughts about things that, like, why some things aren't going to go to zero?
Anything that is like certificate based that needs to go into some sort of like government register will be able to happen on the blockchain. It's a ledger. But one of the project that I came across just yesterday that I thought was really interesting, very early to the market, is a fitness NFT where you buy the pass and it has an accompanied iOS and Android app, and it tracks how your fitness level, and you're actually getting paid for that. Now you're getting paid in their native token, which is, I don't know what it is, like workout is the name of the token or whatever. But you can then take that token and then shop in their marketplace, and it has different sorts of like fitness apparel and things to help you with your workout. So where there are products that exist today that pay you to work out and to get fit, this project within the blockchain and the NFT, it's totally free to the user. And it's because people are buying into the NFTs that you're getting paid out as the user. I thought that was a really cool use case. Now, again, I think it's early to market because I think it's hard to get people to adopt sort of your native token without it being backed by something. So that's a challenge that you'll have to get over. But I thought it was a really cool use case. And that's just one type of utility that I think we'll start to see moving forward.
Are all NFTs going to zero? No. Are most of them going to zero? Yes. Can you make a lot of money still in the NFT space? Absolutely. Can you lose a lot of money in the NFT space?
Totally.
Absolutely. Don't get me wrong. You can also play this like a true gambler. Don't listen to anybody on YouTube who is telling you that you're going to make, that they've mastered technical analysis and that you're going to be able to flip something really fast and make a ton of money, because nobody has that information. They don't have, if they had that information even about the stock market, they would be the most well-known person in the world. But you cannot time the market, whether it is the stock market or the NFT market. So don't even.
It's unpredictable because there's a level of humanity to all of it. You never know if some image is really going to resonate with the community or not. And it just like skyrockets as opposed to something that has really good utility, but people don't give a shit about it. It's just, when humans are involved in emotions, like you just have no control and you have no idea how things are going to end up.
Correct. I can think of several projects that I'm holding that have extremely hardworking entrepreneurs behind them. Creeps, but they. You just catch what I did?
Yes, I thought, I was like, are you okay? Good God.
Into my throat, but are valued quite low compared to some things that are literally just JPEG.
Yeah.
It blows my mind. Like it's crazy, but that's not going to last forever. Again, very similar vibes to the .com era where the general public does not understand the technology. They do not understand what has to happen behind the scenes to make something good. They don't understand what it takes to execute tech projects on a deadline. So I think there's a lot of teams that don't either, which is causing, I think it's also a part of this whole bubble burst that's happening, is that a lot of people, project founders, promised a lot of things and they didn't have a technology background. They had a vision and then they're like, wait, how long is this going to take to build? And they can't hit those deadlines because it's impossible. If some of those deadlines could be hit, we couldn't hit them in Web 2. I know from experience, like some of those deadlines are impossible, like most of them. And hitting them with an emerging new technology is just a hilarious thought. So it's going to naturally shift out, like panning for gold, and we'll be left with the nuggets, I'd say, within a few years here. But now's the time to look for good things.
Now's the time to educate yourself and learn how things are working today and the underlining behind some of this technology, so you can in the future understand if this is a good project or not, if there is some solid utility. So it definitely is a good time to explore. Maybe just don't put all your eggs into the JPEG basket.
Don't put more in than you
lose.
Yeah, exactly. And also watch, subscribe, and listen to our channel, because we not only talk about what projects we think look enticing, we also try to do some education. And you can learn about the technology behind a lot of things, new products, what's exciting happening. Maybe you're going to get some ideas of your own and build. You could become a builder, make money that way. The time is now. Don't be afraid. Just don't lose too much, but be prepared to lose, because it will happen. And that's the backs. If you want me to feed you lies, like every other YouTube channel on NFTs, I could, but
we ain't got time for that.
We ain't got time for that. All right. Thank you for joining, and we will see you all next time.